You know, I've always been an athlete, probably not a top level athlete, but in my own way, always athletic. And so I really got to a point in my life where I thought I might have to give that up just because I could feel the aging process coming in. And with everything that we do inside of Apex, I've actually been able to defy gravity. I've actually been able to turn back the clock. I'm able to do things now that I couldn't do 10 or 15 years ago, quite honestly. And Vasper has been a nice piece of that. And we've taken that information and knowledge and really started to leverage it into two populations of athletes, sort of what I would call the aging athlete, and then the athlete that's really looking for peak career performance as well. So that could be a professional, that could be an amateur, but we're actually utilizing Vasper in both those different populations. And we find that different protocols are required. We find that actually selecting the right protocol on the right day is important. We find that many athletes are chronically overtrained, and that utilizing Vasper enables people to get recovery and healing when they need it, and also enables them to get strength gains and performance gains that they would have a hard time achieving otherwise. I will say this, I think there's going to be a real role here for pro athletic teams. The Texas Rangers have a Vasper. The San Jose Sharks have had a Vasper, have a Vasper. The Texas Rangers went from last place to first place. They got knocked out by Toronto Blue Jays this year, but nobody really expected them to do that well. And I had the opportunity at a military wellness initiative that I was at with the governor of Texas and the owner of the Rangers to ask the owner about, how are you liking Vasper for the team? And he couldn't say enough good things about it. I said, well, how are you using it actually? He said, well, as soon as our pitchers finish pitching, the first thing they do is go in and do a Vasper session. And the reason is it helps their arms recover. So I think it's dramatic. I think we're going to see more and more professional teams adopting Vasper. Vasper can help an athlete in lots of different ways. In Apex, what we do is we actually have a way to measure through something called plethysmography what an athlete's state is or status is on any given day. And based on that, we can actually tell them, look, this is a good day for you to push really hard. You've got lots of stress resistance. Your body is good to go. Or this is the day that you're showing more depletion, and this is a day when you actually need to recover. And we find that we can dial in the Vasper protocols based on what they need, and it's quite remarkable. I think athletes in general feel like they have to show up and perform at a certain level every time they show up. But that's not really how our bodies work. We all know intuitively that some days we wake up feeling great and some days we wake up feeling not so great. But to demand the same of the body under all those circumstances is really kind of a misnomer. And when you get into these endurance sports, especially like Ironmen and triathlons and marathon runners, they have all this volume of exercise that they feel they're prescribed to do, whether they feel like it or not. And that exposes the body to huge amounts of oxidative stress that basically blow past the body's ability to handle it. So they end up with sort of chronic inflammation, and they end up really with detrimental performance. The beauty of Vasper is that you can get the training that you need from the standpoint of your aerobic capacity and your muscle strength, but you don't have to do protracted levels of exercise that exhaust your oxidative stress handling mechanisms, if you will. And so we find that tailoring the Vasper into the protocol, not just adding it to what they're already doing, but substituting it in for some of the activities that they would ordinarily do, and doing it in kind of an informed, what I would call informed or intelligent way, enables an athlete to actually go past what they could otherwise do from a performance standpoint, even though they're actually doing, in a way, doing less work to get there. And so they beat themselves up less, they don't exhaust their body's mechanism to handle oxidative stress, and yet they're getting the gains, they're getting recovery when they're needed, and they're getting strength when they want it. And it becomes very, very powerful. I think the other thing is that people notice enhanced strength. If they go from a Vasper session into the gym to work out, they'll actually find that they can lift more weight than they could before, which is interesting. And it's not a protracted effect. It's not like you have to work with Vasper for 5 weeks before you start to see that benefit. It happens fairly early on in the sessions. People also report improved cardiovascular endurance. And so we've seen people report that to us over and over again as well. So these are kinds of performance gains that it's really hard to get with any other kind of technology. It doesn't matter whether it's recovery tools or supplements people take or whatever else it is, different training regimens, interval training. There's something about Vasper that leverages the interval training with the compression, the cooling, electrical grounding that seems to really create dramatic effects in numerous populations.